Greetings, gun owners. I have a question for you. And that question is simple. Are you willing to roll the dice around your own gun ownership? You're probably asking yourself, who is this guy to bring this message to me? Well, quite simply, I'm an advanced level tactical instructor. I'm a counselor appointed by the International Training Academy, the founder of Safe Citizen, and also the owner of a firearm training academy. But apart from that, in the eyes of the law, I'm an ordinary licensed South African gun owner. The issue at hand is guns and alcohol and the fact that they do not mix well. And before you decide that this message is not for you, I invite you to cast your mind back to any occasion in the past when you have consumed alcohol. Maybe a family wedding, maybe last night, last year, last week, last month, last decade, a retirement party, whatever. It doesn't much matter. What does matter is that many of us are unaware of or have perhaps forgotten about Section 102 and 103 of the Firearms Control Act. These are the sections that come into being if you are going to be declared unfit to possess a firearm. Let me share with you some excerpts from those acts. 102, declaration by registrar of person as unfit to possess a firearm. And right now I'm going to stop and just also point out to you that it's not simply the registrar that you will be dealing with, or only the registrar that you will be dealing with. Section 102 and 103 investigations get their life, their breath at the local police station and are often decided at the local police station level. The registrar may declare a person unfit to possess a firearm if, on the grounds of information contained in a statement under oath or affirmation, including a statement called by any person called as a witness, it appears that because of that person's mental condition, inclination to violence, or dependence on any substance which has an intoxicating or narcotic effect, the possession of a firearm by that person is not in the interests of that person or any other person. Section 103, declaration by court of person to be unfit to possess a firearm. Unless the court determines otherwise, a person becomes unfit to possess a firearm if convicted of, and under Section E, an offence involving the handling of a firearm while under the influence of any substance which has an intoxicating or narcotic effect. Now, what does that mean for you when we run it by an ordinary set of circumstances? Here are a few examples of how it can play out, according to me. Section 102(1)(c), because of that person's mental condition, I'm going to revisit this for you, inclination to violence or dependence on any substance which has an intoxicating or narcotic effect, the possession of a firearm by that person is not in the interests of that person or of any other person. Dacha, antidepressants, sleeping pills, and so on. What about a statement from a spouse, a family member, or other confirming that in their view, in their opinion, you are addicted to alcohol, dacha, or other narcotics? There are many instances on record where a spouse has made a false claim against somebody who possesses a firearm, and it seems to be the trend now that when a Section 102 investigation starts and it's around a specific firearm, for instance, the local DFO will, as a matter of order, insist that every single firearm that you possess also be surrendered to the police while the 102 investigation or the 103 is running its course. 103(1)(e), declaration by court of a person to be unfit to possess a firearm. Revisiting it again. Unless the court determines otherwise, a person becomes unfit to possess a firearm if convicted of E, an offence involving the handling of a firearm while under the influence of any substance which has an intoxicating or narcotic effect. As far as I'm concerned, if you are carrying a gun, it's in your possession, it's on your body, and it's very likely that they could prove that you were at some point in the proceedings of the evening handling that gun. Think about this. You have a couple or more drinks at a restaurant, could be a Friday lunch, a nighttime meal out with friends. You get stopped in a roadblock, the police smell the alcohol and insist on a breathalyzer and perhaps a blood test too. Over the limit, charged, drunken driving. If you have your firearm with you, it's going to be taken into custody right away because you are not going into the van or the cells with the firearm. Two issues here. When SAPs get their hands onto a gun in these circumstances, it often ends up, unless you have a very sharp lawyer on speed dial, going for the 18-month ballistic merry-go-round, where it disappears into this morass of a SAP system for so-called ballistic testing to see if it's been used in the commission of a crime, a murder or a robbery or something else, and that can take up to 18 months. The second issue is that the officers involved in drawing a charge sheet, if they are thinking about the Firearms Control Act, will be aware of Section 103. The question that may be put to you at the time or afterwards is, if you were in no state to be in charge of a motor vehicle, do you think that you were in a state to be in charge of a gun in public? That's a question worth thinking about. The third issue is, consider the scenario of an accident or a road rage incident started by another driver. You present your gun, the situation escalates, you have to fire your gun, and afterwards you are tested for alcohol and found to be over the limit to drive. How will your defense of what would probably have been a lawful self-defense shooting play out in the light of you being legally drunk at the time? And a fourth issue. Okay, I can't drink in public, at least as much as I enjoy, so I'll drink at home. That's my business, it's my house. All good, except for the following scenario. Saturday night, nice braai with friends, you have a good few drinks to the extent that you would not get into a car and go and drive somewhere. Everyone goes home, you go to bed. An hour later, you experience a home invasion as a masked and armed man confronts you in your passage after breaking through a window in your house. You end up shooting and killing him. The three principles of your shooting are satisfied. There was an unlawful attack, it was against a person and not property, and the attack was imminent or happening. Lawful self-defense shooting on the face of it. However, the police arrive, an investigation starts, they smell an abundance of alcohol on your breath and they can see the evidence of a party and thus take blood tests. A clever prosecutor, this is now a bit further down the road when you're in court facing a murder charge, or simply one who hates guns, puts it to you that you were in no state, given your elevated level of blood alcohol, to firstly handle a gun and secondly make a decision to kill or not kill another person. He will put it to you that if you were thinking clearly, you would have ducked into a doorway out of the passage, shouted at the intruder that you were armed and warned him to leave. He may even suggest that the intruder would have run away and still be alive. So the first charge is murder, which now seems to have a better charge of sticking, and the second result is that you may well be found unfit to possess in terms of Section 103(1)(e). In closing, gun owners, this is not a nice message to receive, and maybe it is irrelevant to you. And if that is the case, if you never drink, if you never consume any alcoholic or narcotic substance, congratulations. But tonight, in many South African towns and communities, ordinary, law-abiding citizens may be having a few drinks at a steakhouse or a bar or at home, with no intention of breaking the law. Lastly, consider the fact that there is no jury in the South African judicial system. In a trial of this nature, your fate will ultimately be decided by one person. Perhaps a person who has suffered a family tragedy around a firearm and alcohol. Perhaps someone who may be unable to exercise the appropriate degree of objectivity or mercy or compassion in your situation. Are you willing to roll the dice around that? Licensed possession of a firearm carries with it significant responsibility. It has been my responsibility to open my mouth and speak to you and to myself around this very important subject. Keep safe, be alert, and stay out of trouble.